Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, I am Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Oh my goodness, I just came in from the outside and then I had to do a little bit of running around in the building. And I'm catching my breath and I almost made it, you guys, right on the button, but not right on the button is not right on the button. So when you come in, say hi. Let me know that you're here. If you've never come into one of my lives before, if you want to join in on the conversation, I encourage you to do that. I have the best crew. Honestly, I have the best crew. We're happy to have you. Just come in, say hi. This gang will envelop you and you will feel like home. I guarantee that. And we are all so different from each other, but we all love each other. We have come together every week on Sundays for, I have to say, at least 8 or 9 years that I've been doing these live shows. And I think for the past half a dozen, I've been doing these live shows 5 days a week at the very least. I do 6 if you include my other show, What's My Good Cheer. This Chatters Live is a show because I spend the work or the week in the heavy, right? In the heavy topics, the heavy conversations. And last week was no exception. It really threw me for a loop. So on Sunday nights, I love to come in because, I understand my topics are not for everybody. And I also understand that, a lot of my crew is here to cheer me on, right? To encourage me. They help me have that bravery and also to make me feel comfortable so that I can come to the table as the best Cindy that I could possibly be. And that's what it's all about. We all have different capacities. I have lots of people who just hang out in the background with us, and I know they're there, right? But in the moment, maybe they're not social people, maybe they're introverts, but it is important to feel like you have a community. So whether you come into the comments and get enveloped by the crew, or if you just hang out in the background, welcome, you guys. I did a little bit of running around. My sister messaged. She's such an instigator, my sister Alice. I love her to death. But that girl, she'll keep you moving. But she has the biggest heart. I was very surprised about how many, and that's it. Happy Easter, everybody. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Tammy. I hope everybody has had a good week. I hope you're not busy I'm not taking you away from Easter dinner or made you rush home so that you could hang out here. I don't expect that, you guys, right? Quite often when I come in here on the holidays, that's only in my consistency to make sure that I show up, right? That I show up for myself and possibly for that one person who's gonna show up. And that's the truth. But if you have things to do, if you have appointments, if you have family gatherings, if you just don't feel like it. Sometimes you got to say, Cindy's so full of it. I really need a break from her this week at the very least. I am 100% good with that. Like I said, it's in my own consistency, in being my own self parenting, right? My own companion. And Tammy's been hanging out with me all week in What's My Good Cheer. And we had that word. When we pulled a card, we got that word companionship almost every single day. It was very, very strange. Um, one of the days I just had to go into it deep. I didn't pull that card the last time we did it. I think we did it 5 times in total. The fifth time, I just decided it's showing up too much this week. There is a serious lesson in that. I get my patternings. I don't know if you guys believe in patterns in your life, that things pop into your life for a reason, even if it's just to kind of think of why, right? And not really necessarily, having to have an action to go along with that. Sometimes you do, but just in the awareness that something's trying to get through. But my sister messaged me like 10 minutes before my live show. She says, Cindy, I can't get a hold of Adrian. That's my nephew, right? I can't get a hold of him. She says, I got him Easter candy and he's not answering his phone. He never answers. He never answers his phone. Can you come and get it? And I says, well, I do my live show in 10 minutes. I said, if you can be here before then, yeah, for sure. She says, I'm only 10 minutes away. I says, I do my show in 10 minutes. If you're here in 10 minutes, I got a great crew. They won't mind if I'm 1 or 2 minutes late. They kind of expect it these days, right? And so she showed up to her word, and I was all ready to go for my live, right? But in her bringing candy, I know she brought me some candy too. That's just the instigator she is. She knows I don't do candy anymore. I gave up candy like 10 years ago, and the only time I fail in giving up the candy is when she buys it for me. I gotta fix my hair here. Oh my goodness, driving me a little bonkers seeing it fly. I don't know what they call those things, fly things. Oh, much better. Yeah, so she showed up here like 1 minute. But in that 1 minute, I was running around my apartment because I wanted to give her a little something. And she's got super curly hair like I do. And she loves the curl scrunchy creams and stuff. So I gave her a big bottle of that. And then my brother-in-law, who I love to death too, I gave him a case of my cranberry ginger ale. I couldn't think of anything else. I mean, I'm a female. I have no males in my house, and I really don't have anything male-ish to score. So anyway, I ran down. I didn't carry it. I will get into that in a moment. I didn't carry it. I put it on all in my dolly. I put a box in my dolly. I put the Creative Pop on the dolly, and then all of the little things I just threw in the box, and I wheeled it downstairs, and she was already in the front of my apartment. Rolled up, and I says, Happy Easter. And I held up this, I don't know, maybe a quartered empty, because I used it for a while. I didn't think it was very good for my skin, but she likes Moroccan oil, right? And right away, just her face just lit up, right? She just loves that stuff. So I knew I picked well for an Easter present for her. And then I gave my brother-in-law the case of pop, a little bit embarrassed that I got a case of pop for Easter. But I didn't think I was going to see them. I didn't think it was going to be something I was going to be dealing with today. And it's not like I was dealing with it. But if I'd known they were coming over, I would have made sure I made them cookies or something like that to take home. But he was thrilled with his little case of pop. And then she handed me a big Easter egg with little Lindor chocolates on it. You guys, I gave up candy, and I'm going to break into this. Not tonight, because my live show will be over after 8 o'clock, and I don't eat after 8 o'clock at night. But for sure that I'm going to be eating this tomorrow. It's the only time I fail myself when it comes to my candy. And I consider it a special treat. Two of my sisters get great pleasure in sabotaging me at Christmas time, because I have one sister who likes to buy me um, assorted licorice. I don't know if any of you guys eat assorted licorice. I love it's kind of like they're layers of licorice and nougat, and they're little squares and stuff. And oh my goodness, I just love those. And so they always buy it for me. And then she got me a cat hanger. It's made of metal. I think that would be really nice on the wall over there, maybe in the hallway. It might go. It doesn't go with my decor in the living room, but it's she's so thoughtful. It was like such a lovely thought that she did that for me, right? And yeah, I really appreciate my sisters. And then I rolled my dolly really fast to my apartment. And I saw I had 3 minutes. I says, "Oh, they won't mind if I'm 2 minutes late." And then I ran upstairs because every time I go upstairs, my nephew lives in the same building as I do. Every time, because we don't visit each other. We're so involved in our own lives, right? That we don't spend a lot of time together. But when we do bump in together, we get into it. Like he's his own philosopher for sure. And he goes in deep. And I don't have anybody in my life that's intelligent that way, that, gets the things that I talk about. He's not really delving into emotions or anything. He's more in the religious aspect, right? He's one of those philosophers, and he's a deep thinker himself. So I was grateful that I had an opportunity to run up right then, knock on the door, handed it his bag, his candy bag, and I says, "Oh, that's from your mom. Can't stay and chit chat." Got in the elevator, and I came back in, and I saw I was only 2 minutes late, and I was just perfectly content with that. Now let me have a sip of my Kool-Aid, which also Alice bought me. Right? She's so sweet. All my sisters are sweet. We all have our moments, though. We all have our moments, but you never deny your own, because in the end, that's all you've got. And yes, there are other aspects of ourselves that are not really relatable to each other. And that's the truth. And that's where kindness and integrity and consideration comes in, right? That it makes it, because if we didn't have that for each other, right, we'd probably be fighting like cats and dogs, and we probably wouldn't even be in each other's lives. And we need to have community. Hello, Eugene. Is Owen here tonight? He might be doing Easter with his family tonight. Let me get this mouse out of the way. Move this over here so I don't keep grabbing. Let's see who's in tonight. Tammy and Andrew. Thank you, you guys. I really appreciate it. I didn't think I was going to have much in the way of company tonight, being in, right? It's Easter, right? Today's the day that Christ resurrected, right? The Sunday is the day that Christ resurrected. It's been a long time since I've been in church. I really, right? If my nephew was here, he'd know all about it. But for myself, no, it's just not it's just, right. It just doesn't come into my life. If it crosses into my path, of course, I'm going to delve into it. It's how I moved, and it's been how I've been moving for, I'd have to say, 10 years. Maybe a couple of those years I wasn't aware I was moving that way. But eventually I got it, right? And I recognized that it worked very, very well for me. And mostly it's working with my emotions, following my emotions, those follow me, let me show you something interesting. Let me bring somebody across your path that you'll find interesting, that you'll be able to relate to, or maybe at the very least, they'll be able to relate to you, because we can all find commonalities with each other, right? We all think that we're so different. And yes, that's true. but you have commonalities with absolutely everybody, even if it's just one and two, right? Maybe you like craft dinner. Maybe you like talking about the weather, right? And lots of times when people talk about the weather, they talk about the weather because they want to have a conversation, but because they don't know what to talk to, how to lead into a conversations because lots of people, they might like to think that it's only a few people, but we are so isolated. And this generation growing up right now beneath us is more isolated than any time in history. Maybe the Neanderthals, right? Maybe they were pretty isolated. But when we talk about socializing, right, it's very important for us to mix with each other, right? To hang out with each other. Okay, so what's Tammy saying? Cindy, I thought about you 2 times this week when I was at some stores, the grocery stores. Some are getting in stock Kool-Aid packs. And I said to myself, oh, Cindy, look here what I see. That was nice of you to think about me. Yeah, I remember a few years ago when I went into Ontario, I went into the grocery store to restock my cooler because I let the cooler ice melt away, and I didn't want to get, botulism is from cans. I didn't want to get trichomonas, trichomonas from some bad meat or some botulus. No, it was trichomonas from meat, right? Could have been salmonella, but I think salmonella is from fish, right? But it could be from meat too. It's important for us to know what's not good for us, right? But at the very least, I knew it wasn't good. I didn't need to know a terminology. I just knew that I couldn't eat that meat and I had to go in and restock. And they had packages of Kool-Aid. And I went, oh my goodness, I haven't seen Kool-Aid and packaged Kool-Aid for the longest time. Usually they just have them in those little squirty bottles that you can squirt into your water bottle. And usually you don't put enough or you put too much and it's too sweet, right? I just really, really missed my Kool-Aid. And I picked some of those Kool-Aids up. And because I'm working on my trip, you guys, for September. So I keep my binder for my trip so I know my camping spots and I can do my research and stuff. I have I have my camp spots, all my notes and stuff, so I'm ready to book my spots. I may have to rearrange it. I went in to look at the cost of renting cars, you guys. Absolutely crazy. It's going to cost me $2,000 this year. It used to, and not for the good end car, not the luxury vehicles I used to take with me, which might be a good thing because I'll save that money in gas. Because I knew I was putting $100 a day. I was filling the gas tank up every single day in those big vehicles that I was driving, but they were so fun to drive. I'll still have that opportunity at some point. But in doing my trip, I opened up my binder and I guess I had slipped all those little Kool-Aid packs in between the pages. I always leave like my receipts for my trips and stuff, not necessarily properly stapled in them, but yeah, all my groceries and everything that I buy along my trip, I keep a really good records. My trips are so important, right? I feel like it's my lifetime project. But I did find those couple of packages of Kool-Aid and I made them and I just went, oh, I wish I could find Kool-Aid somewheres. And I actually Googled it and I knew I could pick it up on eBay, that it really wasn't that expensive. It was like $35 for a case of 64 packages of Kool-Aid. And I thought, that would just be absolutely perfect for me. They were all different flavors, but mostly flavors I have never heard before. Like I got rockberry right now, so it's like blackberry, cherry, raspberries, a whole bunch of berry flavor. They didn't have that when we were kids. We had like orange and grape and cherry, and I think, oh, and the lime one. Oh my goodness, I the lime Kool-Aid was my absolute favorite growing up. But yeah, I'm gonna get myself a whole case of Kool-Aid because I've been drinking Kool-Aid. I made the first jug today. I've had the Kool-Aid for at least a week now. She's given it to me. I was so excited, gave her a big hug and thank you and stuff. She found it at a clearance. They had these clearance outlets, and she walked in and they had a big display of them. So she picked me up a selection of different Kool-Aids. So I made my first one. But when I was making the first one, I was looking at all the flavors that she had given me, like kiwi strawberry, right? They didn't have that when I was a kid, kiwi strawberry. And then they had pineapple colada. So I guess it's coconut and pineapple. Sounds interesting, right? So yeah, they're not the basics. There was a package of orange Kool-Aid, so that'll be exciting. That'll bring up childhood memories. But I also have to remember, I get triggered quite often by memories from when I was a kid. So when I taste the Kool-Aid, the orange Kool-Aid, I'm going to remember the orange Kool-Aid, and it might affect me in some way. How? Sometimes it just puts me in my memory. Sometimes it just makes me a little bit agitated. Sometimes it makes me dwell for the day in, oh, I wish I was a kid again, or oh my goodness, what a terrible, terrible experience childhood was. And sometimes it will put me in a state. But I know with some music, like when I was a big Pippi Longstockings fan when I was a little kid. It was How I Escaped, right? And they had that television show, and it was they were actually movies, but they were made in Sweden or Finland or something like that, and they were subtitled, so they weren't the same voices, right? And so, oh, I just had to check my door. Somebody's having an experience out in the hallway. Might be just kids visiting their grandma, I hope. Right? Sometimes, right? We live in this day and age now where, yeah, they're kids. Where we live in this day and age now where people have experience, especially when it comes to, right, medication that's not legal and stuff. And in my hallway, and I'm grateful I have two guys that live on this side of me and they watch over me pretty good. So if anybody messes with me, they'd be out of their apartment immediately to assist me. I would just have to yell and they would both be here, right? I have to yell pretty loud because we got cement walls going on, so it's pretty sound barrier. But if I can hear those kids from where I'm sitting, I know if I yelled pretty good, those guys would come running. But sometimes we do have drug addicts out in the hallway, and they're banging on doors and stuff. And it's why I keep my door locked all the time. I have to keep my door locked all the time. I never forget to lock my door, but I always double check if I hear something that's not right going out on the hallway. And if something's not going right out in the hallway, I'll pay attention. I'll be on it because I am hyper vigilant. But I let the guys deal with it because immediately they don't put up with that guff, right? They'll come out in the hallway, they'll get rid of the noise, and if they don't get rid of the noise, then they're on the phone. And right, I live right behind a fire station, and I think the not only the paramedics are hanging out there, the police hang out there too, because I see the fire truck and the paramedics and the cops, they all arrive almost at the same time. And I think they're all coming from from the fire station. So it's always handled really, really fast, right? Even today, I think we had the cops here a couple of times, right? And for the most part, the building is really, really good, right? My generation is very respectful of each other. But again, we're right, we're not infallible. We do have riffraff, right? We do have riffraff, and we have to be considerate of them. But at the same time, with that word that me and Tammy and Eugene had all week, that word companionship, we have to remember we have to take care of ourselves. We have to make ourselves the priority, right? We do have to make ourselves the priority in what we do, keeping ourselves safe and making ourselves feel secure and keeping those little triggers that do get us. Like sometimes it's the music, like I was saying with Pippi Longstockings, when that music starts in the beginning of these episodes when I was a little kid. I love Pippi Longstockings, but when I hear that introduction now, because sometimes I go back and I'll watch an episode or something, but I'll put the volume down until right the beginning of the show is already moving into the actual presentation, only because I know I get jittery when I hear that music, right? Because I would get so involved with that show that I wouldn't be paying attention. And some of my scariest moments came from, right, not paying attention. It's not my nature to be unaware of my surroundings in any way. And it's why I recognize that I do get triggered back into the past. It's just because I explore and I delve. I probably am much better than I was, right? Right? Because I don't think I would be able to do what I did if it really was scary or if it really drummed up, maybe nightmares, bad dreams, or made me jittery or feeling uncomfortable. Then I'm sure I wouldn't be sitting here right now because I take myself very seriously above everything else. It's just not out of consistency that I show up. I show up because I love to, because it's part of my life. Like you guys are a part of my life, right? So it makes me happy to be here. Okay. You guys, if you have a moment in the conversation, if you could let me know what you did for Easter, whether you did anything or if you had a quiet day or you got everything done early. For myself, I didn't think that I was going to have much of an Easter. On Friday, I went and sent messages to my family, my sisters and stuff, and said Happy Easter. And so today, I just thought that I was going to stay in, but then, a couple of people that I know online messaged me to wish me Happy Easter. A lady that when I say I don't have any friends in physicality, there is one lady that I do well, there's a couple of ladies that I do consider friends, but I don't see them very often. One of them is an old manager that I had at that little thrift store that I used to work at. I loved her to death, right? She was a narcissist from hell, for sure she was, right? But the role that I grew up in was in serving that. And the thing about her was she was good at what she did. It wasn't that she was asking anybody to do anything that she wasn't willing to do. She was a hard worker and she never asked anybody to hold the blame for anything. Well, maybe she did a little bit because she used to say all the time, she's like, I don't care who did it, just make sure it never happens again. And I'm just like, okay, I'll let everybody know. Right? But I loved her to death, right? I should send her a message and wish her happy Easter because I really do love her. She really holds a place in my heart. And if I ever had the opportunity to do a kindness for her, I would think of something very creative and I would make sure I would give that to her and express how much she means to me. But the lady who did message me, I love her whole family. She loves Jesus. She's a devout Christian, like devout Christian. I have no idea because she knows that religion isn't high up there, right? But she sees my light. She appreciates the person that I am. And she probably recognizes that those other parts of me are very, right? They love Jesus for sure, especially when my nephew woke up to some ideas and he specifically fell into line with that idea, and it was so prevalent in my family. I mean, we had bishops and archbishops. Like, one of them was very famous, the bishop of Archbishop of Canterbury. He was very, very important in political history, uh, because he was in some other country, but he was called back to uh, England. But specifically, he went to Scotland because he had to be, impartial. That was the word that I was looking for, because Queen Elizabeth was queen, but Queen Mary was trying to be queen too. If you know history, you probably know that story. But he was very important in history. So we've got lots of nuns, lots of bishops, lots of archbishops going on in our family. So it makes sense. When I say, you guys hear me say all the time, those other parts of me, but I think those other parts of me are genetic. They call it epigenetics, is what they call it if you're looking at a scientific term, right? But these are remnants of memory, right? That are in our systems. It's the things that we have as instinct, because from one lifetime to the next lifetime, we just have the instinct. When we get born, we're looking for the nippy, aren't we? But mentally, how do we even know that there's a nippy? We don't. But epigenetically, we know. So those other parts of me are the memories, are what I consider my ancestry going back. So if you guys were ever wondering why I always reference those other parts of me, because I believe that those parts of me, and eventually at some point, I will be a part of that too. And when I say we're all at different levels, like Neanderthal man who is way back there might have a special heart about him, but he's not going to have the intelligence, he's not going to have the imprinting and the memory and the all stacked up, as per the person who has just been born. It's why it makes me worried that people get into their addiction, because it takes them away from what they're supposed to contribute to those other parts of them. I believe that, right? They call it epigenetics. If you're interested in it, you can Google it, and there are lots of people who study epigenetics. They're finding more and more about it all the time. And there's so much I'm learning that have been around for hundreds of years, thousands of years, and I'm just learning about it now because it was in, the different cultures we lived in, the different political standings that we lived in, different familiar traditions and stuff that we lived in, that we all know something different. And I hope I'm contributing something to the epigenetics of my bloodline. That's kind of my intent. Also the fact that, you know, I believe that my father has come back, right? And, obviously he's not the man that he was, but I believe that he's the person that he trained to be, the person that he wanted to be, but didn't achieve. But he didn't give up. He just kept trying and trying and trying. But in the end, what you want, you get. And if you don't get it in this lifetime, right? Because lots of times we don't get it because of traumas, because of education, sometimes because of our addictions, right? That we just kind of lose ourselves. Sometimes it's projected on us that we don't get those little lessons along the way, right? Maybe a mother doesn't want to breastfeed and baby pops out and it's looking for the nippy, and mom's saying, yeah, that ain't happening, right? You're getting goat's milk or you're getting cow's milk or something, right? And that's why they made nipples on baby bottles so that it would feel like a breast for a baby, right? But I would like to think somewheres along the line, if I don't reach my goals, my dreams in this lifetime, I know for sure I will achieve them in my next lifetime because I have seen it happen. Because I bump into people, right? That I know, right? And because of the life that they have and the goals and the dreams that they've achieved in their life, I recognize them even more. But not only that, the things that they got wrong, right? The things that they did to others, things that they shouldn't have done, they get that too. They get that too, right? So if you do wrong in this life, you might not pay for it in this life, but you're going to pay for it because I've seen it happen to people I think I care about very I say think I care about very much because of the reactions I get when I bump into them and stuff, right? That I could just get compelled to them so easy. And it's because, right? That epigenetics that we're feeling out those other parts of us, right? And so when I say Cindy's not coming back, Cindy's not coming back, but my nephew's going to have babies. My nieces are going to have babies. Are they having? Yeah, my nieces have two. One of my nieces has two babies now. So I've got two great nieces. So it's my sister's Alice's side that's passing down the mitochondria. And I think in this stage of evolution that we have right now, this was perfect timing for me to pop in and start delving into some of these subjects so that, going down the line, we have a better understanding of what's going wrong because those things that we did get wrong or will get wrong, they're going to pop up back into our lives. And it would be awesome if we could resolve them, right? I am the queen at resolving coping mechanisms. I can say that as a truth for sure. I don't know how many addictions, right? Whether it was the pink ice donuts, the gambling, crunching ice, crunching holes. I did that for like, 4 years. It destroyed my teeth. It cost me a fortune to fix my teeth and that. But I was a smoker. I smoked cigarettes. But all of these things, and I did that all in baby steps. Like these aren't things that I go, okay, I'm going to be an angel and I'm going to be so good. Tomorrow it's all wiped out. Nobody can do that. But we can all do baby steps, can't we? We can all do little things to help alleviate ourselves. And that's the thing. The work that you can do for yourself right now, I believe you're clearing the path for the work that has to be done later, right? And you can't blame yourself when you get something wrong, but if you understand what you got wrong, you can do something, right? Even if it's just saying sorry to somebody, we got to get better at being able to say sorry to other people. We are generations now that we just don't know how to apologize. We're so stubborn, right? We're so, don't tell me what to do. We just elbow each other and we get mad when people don't do what we want them to do. And we don't even considerate, right? Do they want to do that? Is that what they were choosing for themselves? I mean, maybe if they loved you and cared for you, that they would want to extend themselves that way. Just like Tammy loves her brother so much, but you can't say because she loves her brother so much that that's her joy in taking care of him, because it's still a sacrifice. Right? She's also got children and a life for herself, and probably had dreams and has dreams for her life, right? And I was talking to my sister Tracy about that today. You guys hear me. If you watch my outdoor explores and stuff, I'm always getting a pushback, but I never cave in to the pushbacks. You never find me. You'll find me adapt and conquering for sure. You'll find me riding the waves, not knowing what to do, but doing the very best that I can, like I'm in a tumble washing machine. But I never give up. And just if I don't give up, it usually happens right before I just can't do it anymore, that I'm ready to give up. Then something cracks and something opens up. And it's these kind of ideas that I think that will be very beneficial for my family moving forward, right? If we can rub each other well, if we can trust in each other's ideas, at least be willing to listen to some of the ideas, right? And I'm willing to listen to my brother in law. I just didn't have the time tonight, right? And I'm sure he was looking forward. He was looking forward to his candy bag. I peeked in his candy bag. He had a lot of good stuff in that candy bag. And his eyes popped out of his head. He was so thrilled that somebody remembered him. And I didn't want to take. I said, "That's from your mom." I says, "I can't stay. I got a live show that I got to do right away." And I came downstairs almost in the nick of time, but I think I'm good with that. Otherwise, me and him, we would have sat there. We could sit and talk to each other for a couple of hours for sure. We enjoy each other's company that way. And he is the man of the household. I have in laws that are just as important in that household, only because they're blood now, right? Because their children are in our line, right? So they hold just as much state in that, but it's important for us to envelop them. And if I had not given it to him when I did, I would have gone upstairs at 10 o'clock at night after I was all done. I was so sore this week, you guys. I hadn't had an experience like that in 10 years. Tammy was with me all week, and I'm going to send Tammy out and Eugene. I'm going to send them some really heartfelt thank yous, because if they weren't there, maybe I would have made them very short lives if I didn't have the company, because I was kind of struggling. I was kind of struggling in that. What had happened to me is you guys heard me say that one week that I was doing these 6 mile and 8 mile walks all week. But when I was doing these walks, I was doing chores at the same time, and I had my backpack on and I was geared up, and it was kind of chilly. So I was padded down too, and I overdid it. What did me in was a 20-pound bag of potatoes and 3 canisters of camping propane, right? I can't afford to pay for the car rental in the moment or the camping spots in the moment, but it's important for me to get a hold of all those small details that also cost money, but things that I can manage in the moment. And like I said, it's in clearing that path for our goals and our dreams. Because sure, I may get the car all paid off. I may get those camping spots. But in those last 2 weeks, oh my goodness, I'm going to be on the groceries. I needed a tarp to go underneath my new tent because I don't want to destroy my new tent. So it was important for me. And because it's a big tent, I think it's like 7 or 8 feet long and like 5 feet wide. It's a pretty big tent, not very high, right? And that's okay with me. But so easy to pop up. And I took it out in the hallway and I kind of learned. So I wasn't trapped on the night of camping trying to figure out how to put it together. I just pulled it in the bag and I just went and it popped open, you guys, perfectly popped open. But I knew the problem was going to be getting it back into that little bag, that little pancake bag. Like it's only like this thick, the tent. It's like the size of a bike tire, right? But it's only like this thick. But I've got to figure out how to get that tent into that bag because I can't drive to the next camping spot with it all popped up in the back of my car. And it's not like I'm going to leave that tent behind. Not a chance, right? I'm going to get a few years for sure out of my new pop-up tent. And I'm very grateful to my sister Tracy. She made sure I got one of those things checked off my list, right? And I appreciate that. But there were things that I needed to get done. And I was kind of proud of myself because the propane tanks are very, very expensive. They're like because you have to pay an environmental tax on them too because they're not good for the environment. I think you pay $5 or something. But because they were all joined together, I only had to pay the $5 once rather than paying $5 a can, which was really good and which I would have had to do, right? Um, but I paid that off, but they're heavy too. And when you put it on top of the 20-pound bag of potatoes and a few other things, because if I'm at that grocery store, I always go for the feta cheese. They sell my favorite Greek feta cheese. I just love this cheese. It's special cheese with little pieces of pimento in it and stuff. It's really good. And it's a big container, right? It's a big container at a fair price, like bigger than all the other containers and at a very fair price. So if I'm going to go into that store, I'm going to buy the fetas just so I don't have to make a special trip. But when I got home, I was sore, right? I knew I had overdone that. And I says, okay, well, I'm going to stay home for a couple of days and just relax. I've been pretty active this past week. And then when I got up in the morning, I couldn't get up. I had really messed myself up. I couldn't even lift my hands up. I couldn't even lift up my cup of coffee or my Kool-Aid. And I couldn't sit in my office chair. I couldn't do any housework. I couldn't do anything. I stayed up for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and then I go and lay in bed for an hour and just take in perspectives and listen to different psychologists and stuff in the background, which was a very good way to learn, right? Because I wasn't tired, right? I wasn't tired, but I couldn't move, right? And so laying in bed helped a lot. And so for 2 days, the first day wasn't too bad. I managed to get out of bed for 20 minutes, half an hour. The next day, for the next 2 days after that, I stayed in bed pretty much, unless I needed to go to the washroom or get myself a drink. I didn't get out of bed for 2 days. That's how rough shape I was in. And that was a reminder for me, Cindy, you're not 20 anymore. Like you're going to be 65 years old. And I don't recognize it. I very rarely recognize that. I don't have kids and grandkids call me grandma. right? Like I I don't consider myself old in any way. When I look in the mirror, when I'm out and about, I don't feel aches and pains on the norm. But I got aches and pains this week for sure. Oh my goodness, that was an experience. And today I woke up, it was still there. But once I started moving and it it just went away. And I felt so good today. Like I felt really, really like, that relief come out of my system because I really thought I messed myself up like something permanent. But I needed that lesson. I don't think just for myself, but so that I can appreciate other people's, right? I've never even had a headache in my entire life. I've never had a headache. I don't recognize, like I say, you're giving me a headache, right? But I don't even know what a headache is. And I'm grateful for that because I know lots of people who struggle with headaches, right? And I actually dated a man one time who had headaches his entire life. He was also in the military. And he said to me that he used to go and sit in his bedroom closet in the complete dark. And he would just sit there, plug his ears, and he would just sit there on a pillow with a closed door in the dark closet. And it was the only way that he could help himself from relieving his migraines. He suffered from migraines, they would go for days. He said when in his early 20s, he went to the dentist to have some work done on his overbite. Now, I'm not sure. Overbite is where your teeth is out there or inside or something, right? It protrudes or something. And so he had some work done on his teeth and he never had a headache after all after that. And it turned out his migraines came from a misalignment in his jaw. And he suffered his entire life since he was a little boy. He suffered with that. And once he got that fixed, he never had a headache, right? And I never even had a bleeding nose in my entire life, and I should have had lots of bleeding. I should have had bleeding noses almost every single day. But I never in my whole life even had a bleeding nose. So grateful for my good health, but I needed that experience last week so I can it relate and I can have an expression and a feeling for what other people go through and not just say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, right? But I can actually go, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. And not go into my story because lots of times that's what I would do, right? Because in not getting sick very often, with not getting hurt very often, I am a little bit of a crybaby when I'm not feeling good, when I've hurt myself. And I know that. And, I try not to really express it a lot, but it makes for interesting stories because our bad experiences are stories with lessons. But we just look at them as experiences. We don't look at them as lessons. We're just waiting for them to end. We're just waiting for it to go away. We're praying to God or whoever or whatever, right? Those other parts. I don't pray to those other parts of me. I treat those other parts, they had their life. They had their day in the sun, right? But they picked up things along the way in their own lives. And I think a lot of the success that I've had is because that I've paid attention to those feelings that I get. And I know those feelings are not coming from me, they're not coming from my experiences. I learn from those difficult experiences. Like I said, I was out of it all week. But I had signs during the course of the week, like even the day before I crashed out. I said, okay, we're going to have to stay in for a couple of days and take it easy and just enjoy and do projects in the house. You overdid it last week. So I knew I was sore. But, right, if I don't pay attention, if I decide to go off and throw a 20-pound bag, and then also I have my granny wagon and I got a coffee in another hand and then a coffee in my elbow for my sister. And I'm just loaded down. And then I'm walking home, right? And I messaged my sister. I says, oh, it took me 2.5 hours to walk home. Right. And she feels bad because she can't do that. And it's not my intent to make her feel bad by saying, look what I did. It's just because I'm feeling sore. I'm exhausted. I can't move out of my office chair. I'm a little bit of a crybaby. So I have to pay attention that I do that. But those other parts of myself, they've had their day in the sun. But I'm dragging them along, right? But I'm clearing the path and I'm making sure that things are at least comfortable in the difficulties that come along in our lives. And we all have difficulties, but there are always lessons in those difficulties, and never beat yourself up in that, right? Just recognize. I know lots of people, when things aren't going on right in their life, that they just beat themselves up and they think it's something that they've done something wrong, and that could be the case in some. But I tell you, if I know you, right, I wouldn't be around you if you were that person. But I have people I care about who struggle within my own family. And even like I said, this one lady who loves Jesus who messaged me today to wish me happy Easter. I love her whole family, right? Well, she's got a narcissist parent in her family, and but the family supports her, and she's right. She's lots of work, and she makes them very, very unhappy. And I think in drawing the energy, it makes it negative in the household. But, the father, the son, they're beautiful people struggling in their own lives, right? Because the miserableness that goes on in each one of our lives. But in the miserableness, there are lessons in that, right? And just because I recognize the miserableness, I'm not going to say this is what's going on, right? Because each one of us has got to make those decisions, got to be responsible for their own actions and have their own thoughts, make their own choices, right? And that's not my job to interfere. Yes, I can reveal if it's asked for, or if it's part of the conversation, I can put in the insights like we do in our conversation here, but it's not directed at any one person. It's just information, right? It's just information. But this family is so beautiful. Oh my goodness, right? They're just a beautiful family. But they struggle, and yet even through their struggle, they're so kind and they have such big hearts. And it was absolutely beautiful that she popped in. Owen made it in. Oh my goodness. Yay. Owen. I would have messaged you tonight to wish you happy Easter. I didn't see you earlier in the comments, so I thought you were going to be spending time with your mom and your sister and your niece today. I watched Pippi Longstocking and read the books too. I have 3 books from the 19 six. One's missing. One of my books is missing. Okay, well, I got 2 of them here. 2 Pippi Longstocking. I just loved her adventures. I really resonated and dreamed for her life. And I think a little bit I got to have that part of my adventurousness might come from Pippi Longstocking. Definitely my irresponsibility comes from Pippi Longstockings, but there was always a moral to the story. There was always something beautiful and heartfelt in that, right? Of course, the brokenness, right? Being never with their parents and stuff, but there were always beautiful stories. And I think that's what I related to, was the part of the brokenness that it kind of related to me in the way that made me feel like I wasn't the only person who was broken. That's pretty sad, right? Because we all think that way. And yet we're all broken in some way, aren't we? Right? And that is so true. But Tammy, oh my goodness, maybe you're one of those other parts of me, right? Maybe you are. I bump into these people all the time. The people that I love the most have resonated with me that way. And it's a hard, right? Because sometimes, because of the choices that they make, that they can't be a part of your life, right? Forever. We all have a sense of tolerance, how much we can take in that, or what we think is right for the movement that we want to make. But each one of us gets to make those choices, and I bump into people that I resonate with often, often. And it's a physicality, and it is heartfelt like crazy, and it's heartbreaking. And it takes a long time to heal when you really want to move away. And, it only takes time, right? Talking and crying, but we can move away from what's not meant to be in our lives, even if we love it more than anything, because that companionship that is most important in our lives is ours, right? That's that other parts of ourselves. That's that little part of ourselves. It's in creating that relationship with ourself and making sure, when I say clearing the path, in my respect, it's the fact that I've had so many people around me physically that I was just going 100 miles an hour in every single direction, and there was nothing left for me. I think a big part of me in being invited to this party was that I made sure that I made myself that priority, right? When I was doing my urban exploring, when I started my YouTube channel, when I decided that it was going to be, right, taking care of myself mindfully, to make sure, right? Wellness. I never thought that I would be in the wellness industry. I never did. I can't say that I just fell into it. Maybe I did. It came across my path and I went, oh, like it was a great big lollipop, and I had to have that. And I says, that's what I would be good at. And then it was compounded with the idea, right? Your purpose comes from your pain. And that just hammered the nail into the idea of what I wanted to do. But if you had asked me 8 years ago, 10 years ago, what I wanted for myself, it, right? Not that it, now that it's not what I want for myself, but I didn't even know it was a possibility, because that's the world that we live in. It's so much variety, so much out there, that we have no idea that it's out there. And if it wasn't for social media, a lot of these countries, unless we looked at a map, we wouldn't even know that they existed. We wouldn't know about all these different religions and all these different political ideas unless we took an interest, that we paid attention to what came across our path, right? We're going to take a moment here. We're going to send some good cheer out to the fire truck, and it's a good thing it's passing right by our building, but get to their destination, knock on the door. They could just say, sorry, guys, we're feeling much better to now. The crisis is over. You could head back to the station. And that's exactly what they do until they get their next call. Okay, you guys, let's come into the comments here. I agree, Cindy. Just this morning, somebody told me about how his son and others of the same age don't interact in person because they can do it electronically. Yeah, so they're right, this population that is our leaders, the people that are going to be moving forward, they're going to have difficult in controlling their weight because they are online. You know what happens to us when we're online? We're not exercising unless that thought comes across your mind, that subject comes across your path, right? That conversation happens is let's go out, and then you get active again. And I'm grateful my sisters take me out and about, that I have things that I need to accomplish in my life, and that I love being active, right? It would have been heartbroken if my arms were like that for even one more day, right? The pain started to subside a little bit after the second day. Um, but my shoulders were sore, my neck was sore, my arms on my office chair, and you can tell that a little bit better because I don't have my great big hoodie, my biggest hoodie that I had, and I put the hoodie sleeves over the handlebars of my office chair because the office chair armrests were just too hard, and I needed that little bit of cush or the pain would come back, right? But I feel 100 times better, and like almost better, incredible. And I took my lessons in that. And as an example about taking lessons from your experiences, um, when I was about 40 years old, I was working in a cafeteria in a plastics plant, of all places, plastics. I don't like plastic, but I loved the family there. I took care of 600 people. I ran a cafeteria, and I loved that job. I was there for a long time too. I think like 5 years or something I was there. There was another owner, right? But I only saw her when she was dropping off groceries for me. Otherwise, I made the menu, I made the meals. I had cookie Tuesdays where I'd make different cookies on Tuesdays, and the smell of my cookies would go all over the plant. Head management wasn't a big fan of it, but they were a big fan of me because that camaraderie that we had, right? Because we truly were like a family in that plant. But they had concrete floors. I worked on concrete floors that entire 5 years. I think it was in my fourth year, third or fourth year, and my feet went out on me. Like I got that fasciitis, and I've never missed a day of work in my entire life. My only claim to fame, right? I've never missed a day of work in my entire life. And I really wrecked my feet. And I knew instantly I'd done something bad because I got this big warm rush. It felt like blood just flowing across my feet. And then I was in consistent pain. I think it was like 6 months. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think, I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't do anything except endure the pain because I was buying Walmart runners. I wasn't taking care of my feet. And I almost quit my job. I was within the week of getting my notice. I was letting everybody know, saying my goodbyes to everybody. And I thought it was going to be pretty instant because I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't do my job. It wasn't even fair to my boss, right? Because I couldn't do the job that she expected. And like I said, I had become I was a little bit of a whiner because I didn't get sick very often. So when I did get sick, it was always voicing me, and I wanted people to hear me and take care of me and right and feel sorry for me. And that came from my childhood trauma too, because it was the only time that any attention was thrown my way, right? If something physical happened to me, my parents would have me at the hospital in like 2 minutes, like guaranteed. My physical, I was going to say my physical well being was very important to them, but yeah, I think my health was important to them. My physical well being probably wasn't, right? They didn't care about my physical state, but they, if something was wrong, they would have made sure it was taken care of for sure. And the guys in the paint department, because what they did is those freezer bags that they put over vegetables and pierogies and stuff like that, um, that's what they made. They made the labeling on that packaging. They made the packaging and they did the labeling on it. And so the paint department did all the printing. And now you just do it with laser jets. But in that time, you had great big machines, like a whole area of the plant. They even had the train tracks because all those, they process plastic petals. Is that what they called them? Little balls of plastic, and then the companies, whoever plastic companies, the manufacturers, they would buy them and melt them and create whatever they wanted with that. They didn't really create any products other than freezer bags and packaging for like bread, a loaf of bread and stuff. They didn't do much of anything else, but they were busy. It was a big company and they made lots of money. So they were very successful. And at that time, I wasn't woke to any of the ideas of how plastic was very, very bad for the environment. Because if I was in the state of mind that I am now, I would never be at that job. It didn't matter how much I loved my job. And I loved working in a cafeteria. I just loved everything about it, right? And it was the people, it was cooking, it was creating menus, it was being able to stay busy. The hours were good. I was able to pay my bills. I had a new car, and I was doing really good for myself. But when my feet went, I almost had to quit my job. That paint department all pitched in money, and they went to a place called Mark's Work Warehouse. And they sell what I called them. I don't know what they're called, but I called them spaghetti shoes. And they were just rubber shoes. And when you looked underneath, they were rubber, but the rubber looked like spaghetti underneath, right? And then they had Velcro straps. So you just put your feet into them and even with your runners, and then you just Velcro them over your runners. It took my weight right off my feet. And then a couple of months later, the pain started going away. And when you get fasciitis, when the pain starts going away, you start getting little shoots of electricity and you go, okay, right? And that's bad. That's bad too, because you think you're feeling good. And then all of a sudden you're going, you don't know that it's coming, right? You don't know that it's coming. And then once you get those shocks, and because I was informed that that was a sign that the feet were coming back to life, right? And so I took it, and a few months later, oh, it wasn't even a few months. I think the whole process, once I got those shoes on, was maybe another 3 months maximum. And my feet were back to normal. But I tell that to people all the time because it was Mark's Work Warehouse who had that product. And I think for people who have a lot of pain in their feet, that was a miracle for me. That was a miracle for me. And ever since then, I've only worn good shoes. Like if I have to pay good money on shoes, and that's why I wore the Walmart runners, is because they were cheap. I could get 3 pairs of runners for the price of 1 pair of good ones, but I didn't care, right? Until that happened to me. And then I said, that's it. My feet are a priority. I want to walk trails. I want to go for walks. I want to ride my bike. I want to be 80 years old and doing my outdoor adventures. And that's not going to happen unless I take care of my feet. I don't know how I forgot that lesson, because I almost thought that that was the same thing that happened to me this time, but this time in my back. And I went, oh my goodness, I can't go 9 months, right? Well, they say it usually lasts 11 months. I got rid of it at 9 months. I rolled golf balls under my feet, Campbell's soup cans. That worked really well. I just rolled those underneath my feet. Um, Tennis balls worked really good, but nothing worked as good as those spaghetti shoes that I had, right? I don't know what it cost them. It didn't matter, right? What they cost. If I had known they existed, I would have paid anything, because you guys know when you're in pain, you'll pay anything. That's how come, right? No disrespect to the chiropractors, but that's how they get you in, because you're so desperate to get rid of the pain that you'll try anything. You'll pay anything, right? And then that's one of the gifts of being social with each other. Like just right now, and just saying that, that might have been some information. You might be having problems with your feet, and it might be a product that you might want to take a look. I don't know the name of the product, you guys. All I know is I called them spaghetti shoes, because that's what they looked like, because it was just like rubber that was kind of poured out and looked like spaghetti, and it was all kind of tangled like a bowl of spaghetti in the form of a shoe with some velcro straps, and it went right over my runners. But unless we have these conversations, we don't know the capacity of what's going on in the world. We don't even know who's ruling the world. We all say, oh, it's Donald Trump. Not even not even close, right? Not even close. There are people out there ruling the world that we'll never know about. We'll never know their names. We'll never know what they look like, because they're just doing their job, right? Whether it's the job that they're doing, they're ruling, right? But they're doing that in the background. But unless we're having these conversations with each other, we wouldn't even know that, right? So that's one of the aspects of being social, right? That we can learn off of each other, that we can make some movement. So if we all get into a catastrophe, the same catastrophe, volcano, tsunami, right? A drought, or right, nuclear bomb. Cross our fingers, knock on wood, right? Salt over your shoulder. That these things. But I trust that there are people out there controlling and ruling the world, making sure that, yeah, it's stirring the pot, it's keeping our focus over there, so that we're not focusing on what we're supposed to be focusing on. But they're not going to let somebody push that red button, right? So I don't mean to say that. Those were just examples. But in being social, we'll have these little tidbits of information that we can pass along to each other, right? Just like that one Earl had the other day. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I haven't talked. Oh, did I talk to those other parts? I said my gratefuls. I did say my gratefuls today, because I was very, very, very grateful that that pain went away today, that I was able to function. And then when my sister put me in that hurry scurry because she wanted to drop off chocolate. And it's really neat, because I know I can't open that up, right? That was so nice of her. She watches my live show too every once in a while. So if she hears this, thank you so much, Alice and Tom. That was That was so kind of you. So much appreciated. And Adrian loved his Easter egg, and he didn't even have a chance to dig into it. But his eyes sure popped out of his skull when he took a look inside of it. Yeah, he's got a good mom, and I have a good sister. I have good sisters, period. But it's in evolution, right? None of us are perfect, and none of us are in the next stage of evolution. Sometimes, right, it's going to take a while. It's in being the example for somebody else that we get better, right? And my ideas moving forward, oh my goodness, my ideas about parenting, right? That if we can get it right, if we can better understand how important our generations moving forward are, right? We won't have to worry about children with emotional issues and mental issues and financial issues because they're so messed up they don't even want to go in public anymore, right? Yeah, for me, you yelled at me, I would burst into tears the first time. The second time, I would probably let you have it. And then the third time, I would just say, see you on the beach. And I would be gone, right? I've always been that way. And it's part of the reason why that I've had so many different jobs in my life. And actually, guys, today I decided to make a list of the different restaurants and the different little bars in my neighborhood. I'm even going to consider, because I have to be around people, right? You can't stuff me in a kitchen. I won't go into a kitchen, but I'll serve. I'll be a hostess. I can be a supervisor. I got decades of experience in that. But as long as I could be around people. So I'm even considering being like a grocery clerk. And I'm only looking to make money for my trip in September. And that will take, right? When I said about clearing the path in front of us so that we don't have these worries and these stresses, I have to do my part too, right? So that's what I'm going to do. It's supposed to be plus 14 on Saturday. I'm going to maybe do short walks to the coffee shop. It's only a few blocks away, right? I might go to the grocery store, which is only a couple blocks away, but I'm not going to do any long walks. And then on Saturday, I think I'll just go walk and drop off my resumes because I've got my resumes are made, right? When I first quit my job, I thought I was going to go back to work. But when I thought about it, I said, well, maybe I can manage, right? Maybe I can actually say, I got an early retirement, right? This is what I was thinking in my head. And it's been pretty good because now it's been over a year that I haven't had a job, and I still don't have a job, and I still have a roof over my head. Life is working out for me. That idea that everything is going to be okay. And I'm taking my lessons. If I didn't take my lessons, oh my goodness, I would be in bed right now doing my live show from bed because you guys know I'm consistent. But yeah, I'm sending you guys some good cheer. I'm sending you guys in some appreciation because I know how you guys struggle sometimes with your own health and some of those elements that we get because, we get older. Sometimes we're just careless, right? Sometimes we're just not paying attention, which was my case. But if we look at that, there are lessons in that. And I tell you, I'm not going to make the mistake. Just like now, I only buy Keen shoes, right? All my shoes are Keen when it comes for me walking around outside. I don't even walk around the house in bare feet. Never. Not even to go to the washroom in the middle of the night. Like I got my foamy foamy sandals by my bed, and I'll slip those on. Doesn't matter how tired or I am, or how much the bladder is ready to release. I'm just going to take my time, and I'm going to make sure that my feet are taken care of, right? But I do appreciate that I did stumble onto the Keen brand, because oh my goodness, they were my saving grace. I sure wish that I had discovered Keen when I was working in those plants, because I would have never messed up my feet. But then again, in never messing my feet up then, at 65 years old, in my early retirement, ready to enjoy my life, maybe I would have gotten that lesson then, right? The lessons come across our path when they're supposed to come across their path. And that's something that I've learned, is just paying attention to you guys and the patterning. Like that word we had last week, companionship. That was so crazy, eh? Eugene, Tammy, that was just absolutely crazy how many times we got that word. We'll see on Monday. If we get that word again, we know that we have to delve into it in a different perspective. But I think I hit the nail the last time I talked about it, because it is in that companionship with ourselves that is the priority. Like it is the priority. Like I said, like I'm so grateful that you guys came into my live tonight. I didn't think that I was going to have a big crew here, being Easter Sunday, right? I hope everybody had a really nice Sunday, that the Sunday was played out the way that you enjoy, right? That Easter Sunday plays out for you. In my family, Easter dinner was always on Sunday. I don't know how I got into the idea to wish everybody happy Easter on Good Friday, but I do that now. But I think it's that idea that I'm a companion to myself. So when Sunday rolls around, right, that's all done. I can concentrate on myself and make sure that I'm having a lovely day, right? That I'm having a lovely day. Let's come into these comments before we say goodnight. Thank you so much again. Um, but yeah, crazy that you thought of me 2 times this week. Yeah, that Kool-Aid, that was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoying Kool-Aid. No sugar in it. I'm still using the sweetener, but I know exactly how much sweetener to put in there to make it enjoyable for myself. So, in actuality, it's getting the fluids into me, and getting the water into me has made a big difference this week. Like, incredible difference. I've only got 3 bottles of water, and my case of water is done, and I'm right. I looked at the water yesterday when I went to the store to get a quart of milk, but I said that's too heavy, even though I'm putting it in the granny wagon. I don't want to be pulling a really heavy granny wagon, right? It's got wheels. It's not that bad, but when you're not feeling good, I didn't want to overextend myself. But I may have to go out tomorrow just to the grocery store just to get another case of water, seeing that my arms are feeling a little bit better. Maybe somebody will be in the aisle with me, and I can politely ask them for a little bit of help. And I need a little bit of practice in doing that too. Okay. Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, he didn't make it in. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, William. I haven't heard from Nancy in quite a while. I hope Nancy is doing. I hope Nancy's doing well. Sharon shoots me an email every once in a while just to say hi. Kathy, she's been busy in her own life, but she pops in to What's My Good Cheer when she misses on Sunday. She usually pops in during the week sometime just to say hi. But I know she thinks of me, and I think of her also. I watched Pippi Longstockings. I read the books too. Cindy, I liked her a lot. Yeah, all these similarities. Yeah, you're part of those other parts of me. certain of it. We've got a lot of commonalities, but we all have commonalities with each other. But we just don't spend enough time getting to know what those commonalities are. And that's the truth. You'd be very surprised at the commonalities and the topics of discussions. Maybe how much you like somebody, maybe wife number two or husband number two, right? But because we've become a society that spends so much time online, right? We're not having that opportunity. Okay. We went to church in another city. Uh, our good friends who are pastoring and knew since 1983. The weather was wild here in Michigan, high winds and sleet. Yeah, that sleet's bad. I don't like the sleet. It's painful when it hits you in the face. And we got a lot of, oh, you guys, yeah, everything's melting now too. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Tammy. Sending some good cheer to Michigan, and I'm sending some good cheer to all of you guys. Happy Easter, everybody. Where is Andrew? Owen. I say my good nights to all of you. Thank you so much, everybody, for popping into my live. And we'll see you next week, unless you pop into to what's my good cheer during the course of the week. But I do understand that is heavy, heavy, heavy. Okay, you guys. Owen, happy Easter. Oh my goodness. Happy Easter, everybody. Let me see if I can find an emoji with a bunny rabbit. That would be kind of nice if I could find a bunny rabbit. It's got to be right in there somewhere. Right in there. Oh, there's something I could send. Kind of Eastery. I lost it. Okay, I guess it's gonna have to be the rubber duckies that I'm sending. I could do a little bit better than that, but I'm trying here, you guys. I saw something really cute that I thought would work, but I guess I passed by it. Yeah, I got pigs and stuff. Oh, there we go. Bunnies, bunnies. Happy Easter, everybody. Have a great night.